Hey, this is Gilgamesh. Yeah, I ended up watching the series finale of Stranger Things. Okay, I'd never watched the show, but oh my god. Let's put it this way, this was one of the worst endings to a series ever. And I'm not joking. It's a 2 hour and 8 minute episode. First half is the battle against Henry or Vecna, and the other half is an epilogue that went on really long. And I'll get into why this show sucks. The ending sucks because there's something about the brothers. They said something after the final series finale that kind of shits all over everything. But let's get to it. Okay, this is gonna, people probably have seen this already. But yeah, it starts out after the seventh episode that had the final of it was a 20-minute of Will telling everybody he was gay. Okay, so this begins where they're all separated. You've got 11, 8, and Hopper together, and they're going back to the facility where 11 was originally from, where it has the tank so that she can go in to get connected to Vecna's, Henry's mind so that they can free the kids that he has. And then you have the other kids, Steve, Jonathan, Mike, Dustin, Steve, and Joyce. And of course you have Nancy or Nancy Rambo. Then in one location you have Max, and I swear to God the girl looked like Molly Ringwald. And I think I'm not sure where they are. And essentially, the main group over here want to get into the Upside Down so they can go get the kids and then confront Henry. And, and I guess it's supposed to be the Mind Flayer. Don't know. Don't really care. So, yeah. And essentially, she goes back in the tank. 11 does. And 8 is able to use her mind to project things. So she's able to project them into Max's mind so that they can go back to Henry's past to get to the kids so they can save them, free them from Henry. And then Henry shows up with, where Hopper is. And something I heard is that he's able to mess with people's minds and trick them into, and why the fuck didn't he do that this whole episode? No, and it's actually the best scene inside this battle that's going to come. And he tricks Hopper into shooting him, and he makes him think that he killed 11. So he breaks the tank and frees her. That causes her, 8, and Max to leaving Henry with the kids by himself. Oh my God, they made Henry weak in this. Fuck Vecna. I mean, Henry was weak. I mean, they weakened him down, made him very weak for a villain who apparently in other seasons had killed people last season. Max was in a coma because Henry had broken all of her bones and stuff. Like, he was able to break people's bone and kill them. Yeah. Oh, where Henry is the abyss. He's trying to crash that into Earth, which is what starts to happen with the kids. Yeah. The military showing up with Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 somehow. Don't know why she's here. And so Dustin, all them, and Steve almost looks like he falls to his death. They fade to black, come back, and Jonathan saved him. I'm not kidding. That's a stupid. Oh, yeah, and the creator said they didn't want to kill anybody because they didn't want to traumatize Gen Z. Not a joke. That's what they said. But yeah, in all the other seasons, they killed characters off. So apparently they didn't care about traumatizing anybody. But here, they all have plot armor. And yeah, all the women, all the females they're strong, independent women. From Mike's little sister, who's stronger and better than Henry. A fat kid who's able to stop Henry. 11, who we know is supposed to be strong, but dear God, it's like, yeah, I don't know. They keep flipping on her off and on about her strength. They didn't care about 8. They killed 8 off. Yeah, the military shows up. They end up, while the kids are going in, the other group is heading into the the military, a group broken off from the military, ends up getting to where 11, 8, and Hopper are, and they use some type of speaker equipment or whatever to basically affect 11 and 8 so they can't use their powers. And then the guy from the fourth season on top of the roof uses dynamite to, or whatever, to blow the helicopter up, allowing 11 to basically kill all the soldiers and cause the main one to shoot himself. And in the whole commotion, 8 gets shot, and as 11's trying to save her, Hopper goes and actually stays too long away. She dies, bleeds out. Yeah, that makes what comes later makes no sense. And 11 looks at him. Hopper knows he fucked up. So 11 says, I need to go up there to face Henry and get the kids and everything, and tells him I have to do this. And she flies off. Or I don't know what happened. She's gone. The other kids, make it into the abyss or whatever it's called. You know, that they're trying to, Henry's trying to crash. They see this, they're walking and they're talking. And Jonathan has a cry fest with crying at Steve about, his life and everything. And yeah, that comes into play later. And Joyce does not give a shit about Jonathan. She only cares about Will, the kid who says, I'm gay and gay is my power. I'm not joking. So we get to the cave where the kids are safe. Henry's afraid to go in there because the mind flayer tells him not to. This is so stupid what happens in this cave. The kids get away, but Mike's sister stays behind and attacks Henry. And, Henry grabs Mike's sister, his little sister, and she's being dragged back by Henry. And Fat Boy ends up somehow being stronger than Henry, not joking, and saves Mike's sister. I forget her name. I don't care. And she basically, somehow Fat Boy's able to get through this tiny hole. Don't ask me how. So she stays behind, decides she's going to use a poker to stop Henry. And she does injure him. And then Will connects with Henry. Oh, dear God, the connection. And basically, we find out how Henry became connected to the mind flayer. One of the stupidest scenes in the whole fucking show. He kills this guy who shot at him, some guy in the government who has a briefcase. After killing the guy with a stone, he opened the briefcase, and I swear to God, I remember Time Bandits, there was, this stone. Well, apparently they don't explain where this comes from, but Henry picks it up as a little boy, gets into his hand, it's the mind flayer, and it tells him, find me. And so Henry Will talks to Henry and says, no, it's not your fault. You did nothing wrong. Mind flayer was controlling you. As Henry is crying, Henry, I kid you not, I think what Will's saying is true, but Henry, being controlled, I think, by the mind flayer, says, no, I chose to work with it, which makes him seem very evil. I swear to God, they were trying to make Henry come out gay. And so, and then, oh my God, the other group finds this, and it's clearly a spider. I don't think it's the mind flayer, whatever it's supposed to be. It's a giant spider kaiju. It wakes up. Oh, and the reason, and this is the thing that gets me about these two fucking idiot brothers who wrote this show. Originally, they wanted an anthology, which means a different, if you know what an anthology, each season would be like a town connected to this whole upside down. Yeah. But instead, they were made to make this whole show, so they had no idea what they were doing. And it shows. And so there's no demigorgons, there's no dogs, there's no bats, because they claim that he didn't know they were coming. He got caught off. They're literally saying Henry is so retarded, he did not know. Even though he's connected to Will, and the mind flayer can always see what's going on through Will, somehow, and I'm not kidding, this is actually when he had Will and connected, that he's able to see through Will's eyes. But yet, for some reason, this mind flayer thing that's working with Henry had no clue they were coming. Supposed to believe that? Yeah. So that's why there's none of these. This is what the brother said. No, this was cheap shit CGI crap. It looked like shit. So he's inside this spider. It's clearly the body of it's a spider. It comes to life. Henry's in there. He's looking like Vecna, I guess. I don't care. It's Henry. They made him very weak in this series finale. So basically, a kaiju thing comes to life, and swear not, Nancy, I guess that's her name, she turned into John Rambo. Because she goes, I will face this thing. And the thing moves, and I'm not kidding, kills no one. No kids get squashed by this thing. And she runs off to give them a chance to get away, as if she's John Rambo. That's what everybody who watches all thought the same thing. I kept thinking the funny thing about that would have been have Stallone come in. All of a sudden, Nancy turns into Stallone, who's John Rambo, and he basically tries to take this thing down, this spider kaiju thing, which I don't think is the Mind Flayer. It fucking was stupid looking, and looked very cheap for the big bad creature. And they're attacking it like they're playing a game of D&D. I'm not joking. They treated this like they were actually playing D&D, which, oh my god, this is so stupid. And inside, 11 suddenly flies out of nowhere, opens the thing up, flies inside. I didn't care about that. She's supposed to be powerful and everything on the level of Henry. This final battle was so lame. So shit. Oh yeah, the kids end up killing the Mind Flayer when the whole point of Will talking to Henry and everything. How they should have done this was, the moment the Mind Flayer dies, as Will's talking to him, Henry's able to come back. This is how the whole thing with Will being gay and everything would have played into the show, how I would have done it. Just to play up the gay, since they took an entire 20 minutes to tell you Will's gay, was he connects with Henry. Henry's freed of the Mind Flayer, and they don't kill him. And Will shows up with, all the kids, and Henry stand there. He's reverted. He's basically they've stopped him. They don't kill him, unlike what they actually did was impale him on a tooth. And as they're all looking at him, Will's talking to him, and he reverts back to Henry, and Will tells him, don't kill him. He's no longer being controlled by the Mind Flayer. He was a victim of Mind Flayer the whole time, and he says his mother wants to kill Henry because of what he did to Will and everything, but he goes, you can't do it. He loves me. He's gay like me. And she goes, what? And Henry offers to die so that she can get her revenge, but Will said, no, I love you, I can't let you die. And everyone goes, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, I'm talking, if they're going to be stupid and have a shitty ending to this thing, why not have Henry be Will's lover? That would have been fucking funny. But no, they have him get impaled because Will used the gay to impale Henry. And then Joyce shows up with all the kids, and she cuts off his head. Show made no sense. That's the end of the fucking episode. Then they get out of the Upside Down and everything, and they're arrested by the military. Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 is there. Don't know why she's there. She had nothing to do with this show except for her paycheck. And all of a sudden, they're going to destroy the Upside Down. And 11 basically decides she has to die so that they can never do this again. I'll tell you how stupid that is, because what the brothers later said about what's coming with the spin-off, and they actually did clarify a lot of things. 11 sacrificed herself. Oh, by the way, 8's dead. She died. Remember, she got bled out and she died from the gunshot to her. So 11 sacrificed herself, kills herself so that everyone's safe. The military somehow doesn't arrest any. Nobody gets punished for Nancy Rambo killing all these military people. And they're all free. They broke it, in the military base. I never watched the leading up to this. I heard people talking about it. So the military, 18 months later, everything's fine. Mike's sitting there, Hopper talks to him. I'm like, what the fuck? The speech was good, but this is the stupidest shit they do, and why this shit didn't matter in the end. Like I said, I'm going to get to it. He gets Mike to basically move on. And he says it's not your fault, which it isn't. But all the characters kind of, except for Dustin, are kind of shit at this point. So Dustin is a valedictorian. They have his mom come back. But the one person, it's weird, never shows up is Max's mother. Yeah, Dustin's mother's not there until he's getting graduated. But Max's mother, who the girl's been in coma for 2 years, doesn't show up again. A lot of characters didn't show up. They disappeared, never came back. Same with Molly Ringwald, didn't show back up. It was all shit. Dustin's speech was great. He brings up D&D and all this stuff, and the principal gets mad at him, gives him a finger. Fine speech. So then Joyce and Hopper get engaged, and they're going to move to Nantucket, I think it is. It's where they did the Philadelphia experiment. At that point, everybody like me was thinking, okay, a spinoff of them two in Nantucket, where he gets a new job. Oh, people brought up about the original sheriff. He suddenly doesn't show back up. He disappeared, not there. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, after Hopper supposedly died at the end of season 3, turns out he was in Russia in season 4. Yeah. Everyone thought he was dead. He died when the mall was blown up, and I guess I never watched this show. Somehow he's alive in the sheriff, and it's like, what the fuck? This show made no sense. Like the creators, they're retarded. So the final part of the show is you have Mike, you have Will, you have Dustin, and you have Max, and I think Luke, he's the black kid who's in love with Max. They're playing D&D, and they bring in something from the third, a character that doesn't exist until you get to the 3rd edition of D&D, and they bring her in because they want to imagine Eleven's there, or Elle, or whatever they're calling her, and they win. And then he gets to Mike became a writer. His future is he becomes a writer, so he tells everybody their future. Tells Dustin he's going to go to college. Shows Dustin at college, running out, hanging out with Steve, because they're still best friends. Before this, we get to the roof with Steve and Jonathan and Nancy, and I think it's Holly. Oh yeah, and I think Holly works at the radio station or something, or that's one of the two is sounds like they're a smoker. Yeah, someone's running the radio station, and they're on the roof talking about and Steve's the only one with an actual legitimate job. The rest of these are fucking idiots. And Nancy says she's dropped out of college, so she's going to move and work as an intern or something at a publisher or whatever. I don't know. She's going to be a strong, independent woman. We know that Holly's a lesbian. And then Jonathan cries and says, I'm gay and I'm a commie. It's like, what the fuck? I knew you were gay. I guess Joyce has gay sons, and he's now a communist. Not a joke. That's literally what he says. Then we get back to I'll go back to they finish the game, and then Mike sits there and starts telling everybody their future. This is one of the funniest things of the whole episode. Gets to Dustin, says, you're going to go to college. And they show Dustin at college, and he's meeting up with Steve and everything because they're best friends, which makes sense. And then we have... then we have Max and her boyfriend, Luke. They're still together, They don't say if they're getting engaged. It's kind of like still a couple. Then we get to Will. This had to be the funniest thing. I know I laughed my ass off. I had to watch it a couple of times. I kept wondering, I know he says his future he's going to be in a gay bar, but I wondered if he was saying I don't remember if he said he was going to be in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin or something. Some people I heard say he ends up in a gay bar in Wisconsin. Bringing up the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, because at the time, 89, that was about the time Jeffrey Dahmer was killing gay men and stuff. So, yeah. And I was 18 in 89 because Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade hit theaters. I love that fucking movie. But yeah, then Mike tells the stupidest fucking bunch of shit that makes no sense. Because remember, Eleven's dead. He said, no. Even though we saw 8 bleed out and die, she did die. He said, no, she survived long enough to put to project an image of 11, and 11 got away, and she's in Iceland now. That was the most idiotic way. Try to say that, oh no. So I'll get to why everything in this series finale is absolute horseshit, and it really should piss everybody off, because what the brothers said after this, they clarified a lot of things. They did say a spinoff's coming. They said, no, 11's dead. She did die. But they said for the spinoff, they're going to another town to do this all over again. Nobody from Stranger Gay 1 will be involved in Stranger Gay 2. Or Stranger Thing, whatever. It was a dud of a show. When you hear them say that the next series 2 will now involve a new town and the Upside Down or whatever, What the fuck? I think, like I said, people said they originally said they wanted to do an anthology. That would have made more sense with the whole different town each time. But the problem is they were told to do a series. The Stranger Thing, I think that's why now the second one's going to be, they're going to turn Stranger Gay or whatever into series 2 will be a new town doing the same thing. So people thinking Joyce and Hopper are going to get their own spinoff, not going to happen. So all this shit they did meant absolutely nothing. Nothing. And I didn't watch the show, and I'm like, this is the shit that how they end this crap. And they admit that they go, yeah. The whole important thing of the episode 7 was because the actor playing Will is openly gay. They had to have him say he was gay. I hear when they did Holly's gay scene, where she told Steve, and they're not a couple. She tells, I don't know if they were dating or whatever, but she tells Steve, I don't like boys. Something like that, revealing she's a lesbian. He goes, I was abducted by Russians. And that's how they did, and people said that was the best way they could have done it. So they spent 20 minutes for some actor who's not going to have a career after this over. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown and Finn Wolf already had film careers going before they came back and did this. This show was absolute crap. I mean, if I was a fan of this, I'd be pissed off hearing what they said what's coming next for this. The next spinoff is another series 2 will involve a whole new town doing the same thing. Then this shit meant nothing at the end. The payoff meant nothing. All this with Joyce and Hopper getting together meant nothing. All of this meant absolutely fucking dick. We're not going to be in this town anymore, so what was the point of any of this shit? Don't tell me I didn't watch the show. Now, I was watching, New Blackstreet tonight, and they were talking about it, and there was a point where I know Kata, he's, the guy with the glasses, wears the do-rag and everything. The other guy, I think it's Atreus, he pointed out what they should have done with this. Maybe it was Kata. One of them brought up what they should have done. Oh, it was Atreus. They should have brought the Mind Flayer to the town. And to the town and had everybody, including the military, take this thing on. The military, what the fuck was the point of the military? This final season, it was like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They didn't write a strong final season. It was obvious. They had a lot of money and they wasted it. And their excuse that because Henry didn't know, but the Mind Flayer's really running the show. So the Mind Flayer being connected to Will and still connected, from what I understand, people are bringing that up. And it could see through Will's mind. It should have known they were coming. So it could have told Henry, but yet they're connected. Henry and the Mind Flayer are connected. That's what we're supposed to believe. So it doesn't tell Henry, oh yeah, and bring out the Demi. None of that. It's because they didn't have the money, because they wasted it on this fucking kaiju creature, spider creature. That's what's so stupid. All the money went to this giant spider kaiju. That's why they didn't bring any of the creatures in. And it's like, yeah, you wasted everything on this. That's what's so stupid. You did not have a coherent story. And from what I understand, each season, it was like, I think the original thing was one season would be this town and it would end. They'd move to another town, start it over, maybe come back to Hawkins, but go to another town, have the same thing with a military head, and show that this thing's much bigger. And maybe they get all the towns to come together to fight the Mind Flayer and end this, and but that's not what happened. We're going to do a new town for the next series 2. That's why I'm going to call it series 2. Is going to be a new town, new kids, all this shit. So fuck everything in this. This is what they're saying. They're literally telling you, we don't care that Hopper and Joyce got together. We're not coming back to this town. So 11 dies for no reason. Powerful character gets wiped, kills herself off. I mean, she was powerful enough to be able to fucking find where Henry was when nobody else knew where the fuck he was. Oh, it's just a fucking wasted show. And I started thinking about shows I remember, shows that actually, and they bring up the whole Game of Thrones. And the thing there was the guys who created the show based it on the books, but George R. R. Martin never finished the last book, so they get to where They had plenty of time to come up with a way to end the show, and they didn't. They ended it like shit. So some people said this is just as bad. I think some people compare this finale, this season, bad to the last season of Game of Thrones. There are comparisons. I never really watched Game of Thrones. But if your shit writing ends in shit for both shows, then both your shows are shit. And this is why when you look at the history of great writing for TV shows, you have to go to, does the beginning and end work? And everything in the middle makes sense. You go to, let's look at the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. The creators of the show literally said the beginning and the end, we know how the show begins, we know where it ends. Everything in the middle, we're going to do as we go along. So they had a plan. And as they went, everything connected. Nothing felt like, oh, they're wasting characters. And these guys knew how to write characters. And they made a couple of changes, but the way they tell the story, you find out, and it does connect sort of to the original series with the war with the Cylons. They created them as slaves and they revolted. This is all explained. And then we find out, oh shit, some of them they become human-like. That made the show creative. We don't know who's a Cylon not until they hear along the Watchtower. And then they have to make sure no one knows they're a Cylon. That was creative writing. That show was amazing. You have Person of Interest, created by Jonathan Nolan. Yes, Chris Nolan's brother. Great writer, by the way. Beginning and end make total sense when you see what goes on. And when Johnny P. Hansen decided to leave the show because she wanted to do, I think it was Empire at the time, they killed her character off, and it affected the show. I mean, her death was messed up. But it played into the show, and it worked. These idiots didn't. This is what I mean by great writing. Look at Sopranos. Beginning and everything in the middle all connects to that final episode. A lot of people were confused by it, but I actually liked the way it ended because at the time, David Chase wanted to leave open-ended to possibly come back and do a follow-up. But unfortunately, James Gandolfini died while on vacation. I think it was in Italy. So they didn't come back and do the show, but he always had the idea that he might come back and do the show again. You know, you look at Angel. When the spinoff happened from the beginning to the end, it's probably better. I liked it better than Buffy. You know, and as Buffy went on, it did get better. And it had a couple, like one, the silence, which was kind of terrifying when you see the creatures in it. But the final, you know, you had the final battle, and it all played right in the final episode. Each ended their shows with a strong ending. Great writing has a great ending, like St. Elsewhere. From the beginning to the end, everything you see this kid throughout the show. So by the time we get to the final episode of St. Elsewhere, we always see William Daniels at his friend's house. That's his grandson. He's on the carpet, the living room. There's a fireplace, kids playing with something. And that come back periodically. So we know the kid's important to the story. So the final episode, and I'll just explain it to you, is there's an earthquake at the hospital. They're all going, oh my God. Then we go back to the house. William Daniels, who called it's actually called St. Ignatius. He gives it the nickname St. Elsewhere because people would rather go anywhere else than come to this hospital. That's kind of a running joke with the show. Yeah. Great cast. Most of these actors this was the show that got their career, like Denzel Washington, Ed Begley Jr., you had Mark Harmon. Yeah, you go look up the cast, a massive cast. And you also had the guy from National Lampoon Animal House, who was the fat guy in the movie. He's in it. I forget his name offhand, but yeah, things like that. And the way it ended, when the earthquake, they come back to the house, they're talking, and then they pan to the kid, the grandson. He's in there, and he's got something in hand, and then they show it, and it's a snow globe. They pan in. In the snow globe is a hospital called St. Elsewhere, with the title St. Elsewhere. The whole show was in the mind of an autistic kid. I thought, holy shit, that's funny as hell for an ending to a show. Now, let's get to another show I loved, Bob Newhart Show. This is the one where he's running with his wife a hotel. Now, the show is funny as hell. One of the best funny comedies of all time. We get to the final episode. Bob Newhart and his wife are in bed. She's laying on her side. Yeah, and he's laying back, and all of a sudden he wakes up, sits up, and goes, I just had a dream. Or I think he either says, I had a dream or I had a weird dream. Might have said, and he starts telling his wife what's going on, and the show ends there. So the whole show was in a dream. That worked for that. Now, you take that and put that in Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, where the scene in the church, which is a wedding, and they have MacArthur Park playing, Beetlejuice says, I love a good dream sequence. I thought, okay, that's weird. We get to the end of this movie, and he does exactly the same thing that was in Newhart. He sits up and said, I just had a weird dream. So apparently the whole movie, like the TV show, that's what I got from the impression was this was all a dream. Okay, that's interesting, if that's true. But yeah, some shows, they have great endings. They run their course. Some shows, people don't know what they're fucking doing. Firefly, when it came out, got canceled. Joss Whedon, he had something, but Fox canceled it. But then the uproar about the show being canceled gave him a chance to do a movie. Here, he corrected some of the issues with the TV show, which there were. It wasn't a perfect TV show, but for the movie, he corrected some of the problems. He streamlined the story, so it was somewhat of a retooling of the series, and it was also an original story. That worked much better for Firefly. Serenity was a better telling of the whole for the one seasons that Firefly got, and it made a whole lot of sense. The ending was it had several characters get killed off. You had Book get killed off. You had what's her name? The pilot, he died. And the ending's great. It had and you sort of set up they might come back and do, another movie or something down the road. We don't know. But the way they ended it, the tragic losses, it all played well into the story. It's like when you look at Transformers the movie, the animated movie. As others have pointed out, the reason they killed all these characters off because their toys were not selling. This is what they said when they made the movie. What I love about it is they took the risk to kill Optimus Prime off, to turn Megatron into Galvatron, have Leonard Nimoy be Galvatron. They had Orson Welles, who didn't even know he was doing what he was hired to do, as Unicron, which was great. What a great voice for that character. But what they did was they killed off certain characters, popular characters that people did not buy the toy. And I love that about the movie. It upset younger fans, when they saw it, and they were like crying, and so they brought Prime back, which I was fine with that. They found an interesting way to do it. And it turns out who actually created the Transformers, the Autobots and Decepticons, we find out in the, after the movie. But yeah, that's stuff like that. And then, but the problem here was these guys didn't seem to know what they were doing, and it showed. And like I said, I didn't watch this show. I just watched the series finale. But I kept going, why is this such a crap show? Then they say, we're going to have the spinoff is going to be a new town doing this all over again. I said, so there's no payoff for any of these characters. We're never going to see them again. As far as they said, none of the characters are going to come into the new series, the spinoff. So what the fuck did it matter what happened at the end of this if you don't give a fuck to come back to it? So they're saying new town, doing the same thing. I'm like, then there was no reason to have any of these characters live. You fucking weak-ass bitches. If I were a real fan, I'd be even more pissed off at their explanation of saying that this whole Hopper and Joyce getting together doesn't matter. The whole series finale did not matter. They're going to start it all over at the new town. What the fuck? That's why I could never watch this show. I mean, I understand the anger people had. This was shit. If you're telling people this whole series, 5 seasons, literally meant nothing to you, and it shows they don't give a fuck about this product because the way they treated it was like crap. The last season felt they did a time skip, and Netflix went along with this, gave them the money, and let them do the gay and everything. Oh, Netflix, and I'll say this, is not getting Warner Brothers. Dear God, this was such shit. I, as not even a fan of this, I hate these assholes. If this is what they did, they have no business doing anything else. They are the worst creators of a TV show. And for the fans, they owe them an apology. For the gay fans who thought they were going to get some gay love scene between Mike and Will, that didn't happen. I get they're being pissed off. They were given a gay Will's gay and making a big thing out of it, but no payoff there. And then telling the other fans, fuck you, this shit didn't mean it, we're moving on. That's what pisses me off about the whole thing. The fans should be angry at the fact that they got nothing out of this. Nothing's going to continue with this cast. These kids are all done. This show is done. They're moving on to a new cast, a new town. So what the fuck? There is nothing to make you feel like you got any payoff. You were fucking limp. They slapped you with a limp dick and left you going, what the fuck? So for all the fans who watched this show, you should be disgusted by the way they treated you. Whether you're gay or not, this was an insult to anybody who gave their time to these fuckers and to Netflix. Fuck you very much. I'm glad you're not getting Warner Brothers. I'm glad Paramount's getting it. Because you don't deserve to own a film studio. If this is the shit you're doing, all your woke shit, you are not stopping. Because Netflix was created by two gay men. That's right. If this is what they think is acceptable of a show, well, no shit. They cancel good shows all the time. And they give this shit too long to fucking become crap. Oh my God. I mentioned good shows. I mentioned shows that had great endings. Like Breaking Bad. The beginning and end of this show, the way that it ends was so brilliant that you see a beginning, a guy who thinks he's going to die. He meets Jesse, who's a meth dealer. He helps him create meth. He uses the money originally to help his family because he thinks he's dying. Then suddenly his cancer apparently, I think it went into remission or whatever. As the show goes on, he becomes a murderer. And then as we get towards the end of the series, he basically turns on his wife who's treated her sister, acts like she's some tough shit. And basically he tells her and his son, I don't give a fuck about either of you. I think he kills his sister. I'd have to watch it again, but I think he killed his sister-in-law off. And Dean Norris is his brother-in-law. And by the end, the only person he gave a shit about at the end was Jesse, who was more like a son to him than his own fucking crippled, fucking limp dick fucking son. He went from, thinking he was going to die to fuck this family and letting Jesse live. That's how that show ended. It was perfect. It had a great send-off. Walter he let Jesse live and get away while he apparently died. Good way to end a show. You have a payoff. And that's the thing. Great writers know how to end a show the right way. Shit writers don't know what they're doing. That's the problem with Hollywood. You got idiots who don't know what they're doing, making stuff that is crap. And then you look at other stuff and you go, wow, how can that be good and your shit sucks? That's what we're gonna have this year. We're gonna have a werewolf movie come out at Christmas by Robert Eggers. And Sam Raimi's new movie, I actually kind of want to see. It looks interesting. Send for help or call for help, something like that, where two people are on an island, they can't stand each other, and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to see the Odyssey. It looks like shit. I don't care. They've added characters and trying to make, I've read the Odyssey. I've read the Iliad. They take place after the Battle of Troy. And it's like, I'm just not interested. I know there's a lot of Chris Nolan hardcore fans out there who will suck his dick on it. Same with James Cameron, which I think he's only got one movie that is worse shit. Is Terminator 2 was a reboot because he said Sarah Connor wasn't a strong enough woman. She had to beat all the men up and basically say, I'm going to kill you because you're a man. Yeah, that's essentially why he did Terminator 2. And then Aliens was, like I've said before, it was literally a fucking generic shooter where you take Ripley, who was a survivor, and made her the woman with plot armor, and fucking made her a strong, independent woman that needed no man to take on the space cockroach queen and save the day. Okay, that's stupid. That's the problem. But this fucking shit show, wow, I'm glad I never wasted my time watching it, because I would have been like, fuck you to these guys. I would have went off on them. This was a shit show, and it was a shit show that makes fucking other shit shows look like they knew what they were doing. This is why never ever really fall in love with a be careful when you watch shows. Don't get too, because you may find out at the end these assholes didn't give a shit. And for anybody thinking they're gonna watch series 2 of this crap, just remember they shit you an ending so bad they're gonna repeat this with this series 2. This, I call it The Stranger Gay, because that's what it became about. A gay kid who had the power to kill Henry, and his mother cutting off Henry's head. It was like, how stupid can this shit? And then the ending meant nothing, because they said, oh, by the way, yeah, Levin's dead, which we knew she was, and Mike's a retard, and that Will being gay meant he get to go to a gay bar. Yippee! And then Joyce and Hopper, we're never gonna see them again, so it didn't matter. That's the payoff. You got a nothing into this show, and they told you to go eat shit. So for the fans, I feel bad for you, because you got fucked over by these people. Two brothers are retards. For the fans, I would never fucking give these men any money. And if Paramount's smart, they'll lock the doors and cancel the contract, because these two are fucking retarded. So there you go. This is Gilgamesh. I will talk to you later. Bye.